have a family reunion, a good old-fashioned outdoor barbecue. Gonna have a family reunion, a big reunion, family reunion, and you're invited too. Boy, we have got everybody here today for the family reunion. A lot of your favorites that have been here before and a lot of new folks. The great Mr. Jim Ed Brown sitting to my left. Behind him, the son of the legendary Conway Twitty, Micheal Twitty. The great Jack Green. And behind him, the Grand Ole Opry announcer and country music radio personality, Mr. Keith Bilbrey. A lot of the young'uns are here today. The son of the legendary and great Marty Robbins, Ronnie Robbins, joins us. And the son of the wild child himself, Roger Miller. Mr. Dean Miller is with us on this edition of our family reunion. We got Rex Allen Jr. Of course, we've heard of Rex Jr. and Sr. for many years. The great songwriter Stephen Foster. No, that's that's Merle Kilgore back on the back. Great to have Merle back with us again. Miss Jeannie Pruitt from the Grand Ole Opry. And behind her, the sons of a couple of more country music legends. Farron Young's son, Robin Young, and the son of Hawkshaw Hawkins and Gene Shepard, Harold Hawkins, but we call him Hawk. Mr. Charlie Louvin joins us again, as does Skeeter Davis. Funny man and great song stylist, Mr. Johnny Russell is here again. And we'll eat in just a little while, Johnny. Seated next to Johnny from down in Florida, great member of our Grand Ole Opry for many years. Good to have Bobby Lord back in Nashville. From out in Des Moines, Iowa, legendary disc jockey, country music artist, and promoter, the great Smokey Smith. Smokes, we're so glad that you're with us again. Sitting next to Smokey Smith, of course, Franklin Delano, Del Reeves from the Grand Ole Opry. The great Bobby Bear joins us again. Behind Bobby's black hat, the beautiful and talented Miss Carol Lee Cooper from the Carol Lee Singers at the Grand Ole Opry. The daughter of the great Hank Williams, Miss Jet Williams, joins us. And Miss Jan Howard, a regular member of our family reunion cast, as is the tall Texan without his mask, Mr. Billy Walker. The lovely lady seated next to Jan Howard is the daughter of two country music legends, George Jones and Tammy Wynette, Miss Georgette Jones. Next to her, the old boy we hadn't seen since he was out in the cornfields, and so good to have the great Roy Clark join us today. Next to Roy, with the cowboy hat, Mr. Texas Charlie Walker. And on the front row, and I'm going to slide over here because you had the greatest advice for all of these young people. What did you say? How do they stay young?
I just want to tell them that's my secret of staying young. Don't mess with old people.
Mr. Bill Carlisle. Everybody's here for the family reunion. Here we go. Gonna have a family reunion, a good old-fashioned outdoor barbecue. Gonna have a family reunion, and you're invited too. Family reunion, and you're invited too. Thank you. And our great band, as always. Mike Johnson, Glenn Duncan, Jimmy Caps, Dirk Johnson, David Smith, Les Singer, and Randy Hardison playing all the music over there. We are ready to go, ain't we? I tell you what. Roy Clark, good to see you. Not exactly a young'un, but welcome to the Young'un Show.
I'm not exactly what? I said a while ago I feel like either a daddy or a junior. Everybody here is either the sire of or the offspring of.
Well, you really are, too, because your family started out in music. Your dad played music, your
Yes,
uncles played music, and you were the young'un in the Clark family for many
That is right.
years.
And now I am the, what do they call it? How long have you been on the road?
Well, me, ever since they come out with it.
the elder
That's what I was looking
statesman.
for. You know, every time we have a family reunion, where I used to be the nephew, now I'm the uncle. And it's not a fun trip.
Are any of your relatives, I know you brought them to the Opry sometimes, they used to appear on Hee Haw, are any of them still alive and playing? Or?
We got one left, my Uncle Dudley, the mandolin player. And my dad and my Uncle Paul, they both passed away a couple of years ago now.
We've talked a lot on these shows about family harmony, about growing up around families that sing. A lot of people grew up in large families, and they said that music was really kind of at the core of the family. Was it that way around your house? Everybody sang?
Well, yeah, and when we go home, I say home, back to the old home place, my dad and my uncles would always get together on the front porch and start playing music. And I don't know how many of the rest of you here, when I think of music, music has an aroma to it. And the aroma that I remember is the musty smell of the inside of a mandolin or a fiddle or a guitar. Has a definite smell, and I guess I was at the age where I was just level with the F-hole, you know? So, really. and I remembered that when I heard music, I always had this definite smell about it that is still nostalgic to me.
You go around sticking your nose in a lot of guitars and mandolins?
That's how I evaluate. That's it.
I think we need a song out of Roy Clark.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Well, which one are we going to do?
I was told you were going to do Thank God and Greyhound.
Oh, Lord, I didn't know we was going to start off with that kind of a meaty product. Am I supposed to hold both?
Well, you might.
Yeah.
Roy,
That's the
you
real
might
trick.
tell us you never picked cotton. If you don't.
Who was that?
I never
Charlie
picked
Ulu.
cotton.
Oh, Charlie. Well, I lied about that. I did. The first time I went through Texas, I was playing with Wanda Jackson. And I went through Plainview, Texas.
You know what, where that is?
Well, you know who is from there and talks about it.
Jimmy Dean is.
Jimmy Dean. Well, just as we got on the outskirts of town, there was a cotton field. And I told Tom Jackson, Wanda's father, I said, stop the car. And he stopped the car, and I jumped out, and he said, what are you doing? I walked over, and I picked a bowl of cotton off and threw it on the ground and got back in the car. And I said, from now on, if anybody ever asks me, have I ever picked cotton, I can say, yeah, I did. Once. This is perhaps, of all the great Bill Anderson songs that I've recorded, this one, Bill didn't write this one, but it's the meatiest of all. I've made a small fortune, and you've squandered it all. You've shamed me till I feel about 1 inch tall. But I thought I loved you, and I hoped you would change. So I gritted my teeth and didn't complain. Now you come to me with a simple goodbye. You tell me you're leaving, but you won't tell me why. We're here at the station, and you're getting on, and all I can think of is, thank God in Greyhound you're gone. Thank God in Greyhound you're gone. And that load on my mind got lighter when you got on. That shiny old bus is a beautiful sight, with the black smoke rolling up around the tail lights. It may sound kind of cruel, but I've been silent too long. Thank God in Greyhound you're gone. One more time. Thank God in Greyhound you're gone. I didn't know how much longer I could go on, watching you take the respect out of me, watching you make a total wreck out of me. That big diesel motor is a playing my song. Thank God in Greyhound you're gone. Thank God and Greyhound. The old lady. Mean old Slim Whitman, huh? You're gone. I bet there's not a dry eye in the house. Thank you.
Roy, that song ain't exactly politically correct today, is it?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. I'll tell you the story how that song was written. It actually happened. A fella had put his wife on a bus in Atlanta, Georgia. And he had to go to the men's room. And just as he walked in, written right above on the wall, it said, "Thank God in Greyhound, she's gone." He went home and wrote it. That's it.
Did Greyhound help promote the... What did the Greyhound people
I
think
come
about
that
it?
close to getting a free bus.
Really?
Oh, they were talking about it, but...
One with 500,000 miles on it.
Exactly,
Probably.
right.
The big dog on the side of it.
You notice you never can get that old, when you used to buy those
No.
buses, you
I
can't get them off. It's all stenciled on the side. It's still going down the highway with a Greyhound on the bus. Yeah.
I remember so well a backstage story. You know, we've got a lot of kids of famous people here. There's also some parents of famous people who love to brag on their kids. I've never had a publicist, but I understand my daddy does a pretty good job when he's out around, and you know, that my boy's on the Grand Ole Opry. But I happened to be backstage one night, and Roy's daddy was there, and Mr. Ed White, father of the Whites, was there, and I introduced the two of them. And then there was this brag fest about going, "Oh, my kid's here, my kid's here." But it was so obvious how proud your father was of you, and of course, Mr. White was so proud of the Whites. And sometimes I think we're proud of our folks, but our folks are also proud of us. And that was a golden moment, Roy, to see your dad meet Mr. Ed White, and two fathers of musical dynasties get together there.
You know, I'll never forget when I first started playing music on my own, got away from playing just with the family, and I started doing local radio and local television around D.C., and I was doing pretty good on a local basis, but my dad never said anything. In fact, he never encouraged me or discouraged me to play music. He just let me go on my own time. And finally, after I had been in it a couple of years and I thought I was doing pretty good around Washington, I said to my mother one day, I said, "Does Daddy ever say anything to you about what he thinks, about how I'm doing?" And she looked at me just as strange, and she said, "Are you kidding? He tells everybody. He stops people he don't even know and tells them what you're doing." But that's the way he was. He told everyone else, but he just didn't want me to get too biggity. Yeah.
He was very proud of you that night. He and Ed White it went on for 30 minutes bragging about your kids, you know?
That's interesting. I wonder the people we've got in this room whose parents are country music legends. Michael Twitty, did Conway want you to sing? Did he want you to go into the music business?
Not really at first. He wanted me to go to college, and then I had a band all through high school, and you know, he knew I had the love for it, but he didn't push me away from it, but he certainly didn't lead me into it either. I guess, like Mr. Clark said, he kind of let me make my own choices, and once I had 100% decided this is definitely what I want to do with my life, he was my biggest supporter. He was behind me 100% and helped me any way he could. But he laid it all out there, every word he told me. You know, I'll never forget, I was 18 years old when I moved to Nashville. Made my professional debut at the old DJ convention, remember they used to have back in those days. And he had a long talk with me. He said, "No, son, you know, don't think this is going to be easy. There's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of hard miles. A lot of people think the music business is just all glitter and shine. There's a lot of hard miles, and the fact that you're my son, it might help you in a few ways, but it's going to hinder you in a lot of ways too." And he laid it out there in about an hour and a half talking, and just about every word he told me has come true. So
Ronnie Robbins is smiling. How about Marty? Did he push you, encourage you, discourage you?
I think everything that Michael just said, I can pretty well echo, because you know, Michael and I we've worked a lot of shows together through the years, and Daddy was a lot of them, several we have not been paid for.
ain't that the truth?
It's hard to get paid when there's no one in the audience, but
Oh, that's a can of worms.
I think we all, that's kind of a universal thing that we've all gone through here. Daddy did encourage me in the sense that it'd been so good to him because, he said it many times, he despised honest labor. And the music business was the best thing that ever happened to him. And he encouraged me. I was playing, and I love music. I mean, I grew up from when we moved here in 1950, I guess he joined the Opry in January of 1953. We moved here sometime that winter. I can remember Eddie Arnold, Dottie West, a lot of people coming over to the house for Mexican food. He would bring Mexican food supplies home from the road because you couldn't buy tortilla shells back then. You couldn't buy, you get the flour in sacks, bring home the pinto beans, and Jeannie would come over. They would, about once a month, would just cook up a big Mexican feast, and it was really I didn't realize, what a really neat deal that was, to have Eddie Arnold, Leroy Wiggins, would come over and play steel guitar. They jam session all night long, and it was just a way of life, and through the years, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and I'd hear Daddy through the air conditioner vent. He had a piano room on the other side of the house, and when the air conditioner wasn't running, I could hear him singing 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was just a way of life, and I never really thought, anything different about it, So when I finally, I'd been in a little rock and roll group about 5 years from the time I was 13 to 18 or so, and I played keyboard and rhythm guitar very badly, and you've heard me play. Yeah, it does. It's a good place to hang my belt, I was working with a little group, and we were making. There was 5 pieces, and we were making about $200 a night, which for a non-union gig, that's pretty good, So, but we were playing. We were playing a lot of Sam and Dave, Wilson Pickett, the old stuff that they're calling country now, and.
That's a can of worms.
Hey, Ronnie.
No, let me finish. I know where you're going. No, we got all day. You'll get your turn.
Tell it all.
I'm only going to get one shot at this. I want to get my chance. But I was playing, we were playing this in this little group, and I was just getting kind of disenchanted with it a little bit because in 1968, everything went to psychedelic. Everybody was throwing bombs and shooting lights off and things, and even what we were playing wasn't accepted anymore, because they wanted to hear the feedback and the fuzz tones and everything else, and we were playing that. We were playing real good dance music, or at least we thought we were. But anyway, Daddy kind of knew I was disenchanted, and he came up to me one day and said, would you be interested in learning 3 country songs? And, and I'm thinking, well, I know about 100, so I think I can do this. And I won't have to tell him. But he wanted to know if I'd, consider being part of his road show. And I started work with him on September 8th, 1968. Worked in Macon, Georgia was our first date. And I'll never forget that because it was the neatest thing that ever happened to me because there were actually people in the audience that were listening. And I worked with him for about 9 months until I got drafted. And during that time, I was telling somebody earlier, I never realized at that time, what a neat privilege it was for me to get to work the Ryman. Worked the Grand Ole Opry at the Ryman. And not just once, but several times, And at that time, I didn't appreciate that. And I guess really, I didn't appreciate it until, I guess, Owen Bradley's funeral last year. And, and I was sitting in the audience. And that's probably the first time I've ever actually sat in the pews of the Ryman. And I'm thinking, man, what a neat place this really is, And I started having flashbacks, and thinking about when I, would come home from the service and Hal Durham or Bud Wendell would, graciously allow me to be on, have a spot. And, that was such a neat privilege. But, to work, when I worked with Daddy, we worked a lot of package shows with, Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash, everybody in the business, Charlie Pride, Loretta. But at that time, I didn't realize what a privilege that was, I guess because I had grown up with everybody, And so it's a little different, when you've grown up in it, you don't always realize what a privilege that is.
So can I talk now, Ronnie?
No. I just started.
Oh, Ronnie.
How much tape we got, Larry?
Bill, let me tell you something. Let me me tell you something.
See,
about
I know
you.
how to do this. See,
Let me tell you
I know
something.
I know how to do this.
He is definitely his daddy's boy.
These are my people, he thinks, but part of them are mine, Ronnie. I do remember when he first started on stage with Marty, and Marty gave him some great advice, and it was with tongue in cheek because Marty just always made a place for everybody that wanted to be part of the business. But he told him, he said, I'm going to give you some advice, boy. He said, don't ever call me daddy in public, and don't get between me and the spotlight.
Roy Clark, did you hear what Michael Twitty called you?
Called me?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Called you Mr. Clark.
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Is that
And,
respect or age?
Respect all the way.
I told him, you know, it's a funny thing about labels that are hung on you. And we were doing a show in Washington, D.C. for the president, several years ago, and everybody in life, most of the ones in this room were there. And they introduced me as a legend. And I said, isn't that something? I was a young and up and coming, then I was a legend. What happened to that chunk of stardom in the middle? Yeah.
And you had your share of that.
I'd skip right over just like a flat, shiny river rock.
Sing us another song.
Why are you picking on me? I put my pick up.
Well, pull your pick back out.
Well, all right. Is this Jim Ed's guitar?
No, that's Bill Anderson's guitar.
Oh,
Chet Atkins played that very guitar yesterday.
Chet did what?
Played that very guitar yesterday.
And he said it was a good guitar, too.
And when he got through, it was in tune.
He had a couple hot licks on it, didn't want me to know where they were. Well, the song that got it all started, and y'all feel free to join in because here in recent years it's gotten higher and higher. I always started to sing the other one again. How does it start, Bill?
I reached.
Arms, and I touched you.
Do what? That's not the one I was gonna do. That's another thing that happens when you're a legend. I reached out my arms and I touched you with soft words. I whispered your name. I had your love on the tips of my fingers, but that was as close as I came. My eyes had a vision of sweet lips yielding beneath my command. I had your love on the tips of my fingers, but I let it slip right through my hands. But I let it slip right through my hands. Somebody took you when I wasn't looking, and I should have known from the start that it's a long, long way from the tips of my fingers to the love hidden deep in your heart. To the love hidden deep in your heart. I had you right on the tips of my fingers, and I let you slip right through my hands. Yes, I let you slip right through my hand.
Oh, yeah.
All will be forever indebted to you, Mr. Anderson.
I'll be ever indebted to you, Mr. Clark. I've got to tell y'all what Roy did the night. Let me tell you this. When Steve Wariner had Tips of My Fingers out, it was a #1 record in the country. Steve and I were standing backstage at the Opry, and Roy came walking in. He never looked at us. He never acknowledged that we were standing there. He walked right past us, and when he got right where we could hear him, he said, "I've put it back in the act."
Yeah, I was forced to. Yeah.
You hadn't been doing it for a while.
That song has been how would you like to write a song that's been a hit, 5 times?
Well, that's what I was about to ask Bill. You know, Bill wrote the song, and who was the first one to record it?
I was. And then Roy, and then Eddie Arnold, then Gene Shepard, and then Steve.
Those are the hits.
Yeah. And on my last album, if I can just thank Roy a minute, we got everybody together, and we all did it. And that was such a thrill. Thank you for being a part of that.
Oh, bless your heart. Thank you for asking. That's a powerful company there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Joe Allison brought me that song, and I want to say that Joe, as I talked to him last night, he's doing great. He just was not quite up to joining us here today. But Joe is the one that really brought me that song. He said they put Bill's record out, and the record company went with the other side and didn't really push it as hard as they would, or they should have. He said, but that's a hit song.
You know what the record company really did? I'll tell you what they really did. I was on Decca Records, and Decca had another company called Coral Records that they owned. They covered me on their own label. They recorded it with somebody on Coral Records.
Really?
That's how much they liked me.
Could I tell a Bill Anderson experience?
I don't know.
I never will forget when Ari and I was together on the Opry, and Bill had come to join the Opry, and I don't know where you were at in your career, but you was pretty close to the front of it at the beginning of it. And Bill went out on the stage and sang Mama Sang a Song, and got an encore, and he did a little more of it. And of course, I've been to the Bill Anderson Humility School, and I know where he comes from. But he come backstage, and you could tell he was as proud as a peacock. And as he passed Ari and I, he said, Mama sang a song. Ari said, well, she must not have been too hot. She never was on the Opry. You remember that, don't you?
I remember that.
Well, Bill didn't know where to fix a tight fist or just exactly how to handle it, so he just smiled and walked away.
I tell you what,
you should have used your fist, Bill. That was cruel.
No. I'm getting ready, as we are doing this show, I'm getting ready to go to Australia for about 3 weeks. And I was telling Dean Miller over here a while ago, on the way out here today, I thought of something that his dad said. Of course, we can sit here all day, and I hope we will, and tell a lot of Roger Miller stories. Roger called me on the telephone one time, and he said, hey, I want to ask you something. I said, what? He said, how in the hell do you throw away a boomerang? Every time I throw it away, it comes back. Your dad that was just his mind. That was just the way his mind
Oh,
worked.
yeah. I love that story about, they asked him how he got started in the business, and he said, I took a piece of string and wound it around my belly button and went, woo, that's how I got started.
It's wonderful. Does your mind work that way? I mean, are you as off the wall as he was?
I can turn it off when I need to. I don't think he could. But,
he couldn't. I
Yeah.
met him when he was about 19 years old. He was in the Army down in Atlanta. We became instant friends, and he helped open a lot of doors for me in Nashville.
Isn't there some story about how you all drove to Atlanta to do your laundry or something like that?
Yeah, your dad called me up one night, and he said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm getting ready to go to the wishy-washy, wash some clothes. He said, I got some dirty clothes, too. I said, wait a minute, I'll come over there. So he'd bought this little old tiny car. It was something that Fiat had come out with, and it was the tiniest little old thing you ever saw. Had two tiny little seats in it. And he comes pulling up in that, and I take my big sack of dirty laundry, and I threw it in the back, and we started to the Coin Laundry. And I don't remember exactly how the subject came up. He said something about what does it cost to wash clothes or something, because we were both pinching pennies back then. And I said, I didn't know it was going to be a couple of bucks or whatever. He said, where does your mama live? And I said, Mama lives down in Georgia. He said, this car gets 60 miles to the gallon. He said, how far is it down there? We figured up the math. He said, we can go to Atlanta, get your mama to wash our clothes cheaper than we can go to the coin laundry. So we drove out on Murfreesboro Road. Somebody was having a gas war, about 17 cents a gallon. We filled up that little car. We took off and drove to Atlanta. We got there about 6 o'clock in the morning. We've been driving all night. Can you imagine the look on my mama's face when we knocked on the door about 6 o'clock in the morning, standing there, two hillbillies with our eyeballs down on our cheek and 2 sacks of laundry in our hand. And my mama, bless her heart, she washed and dried our clothes. We went in and went to sleep, woke up that afternoon, put our clean clothes in the car, and drove back to Nashville. But that was your daddy. That was just the way that he was.
Hey, Bill. I first met Roger Miller when he was 15 years old in Sarah, Oklahoma. We were working out of Wichita Falls doing a Hadacol network show. And we played this little old American Legion Hall in Sarah, Oklahoma. And we didn't know what nudie suits were back then. And about halfway through the dance we were playing at the American Legion Club, here comes this kid with this nudie suit that looked like Gene Autry and Roy Rogers put together. And I told one of the other people on the break, I said, who is this guy? And back those days, Sheb Woolley was his brother-in-law, and Sheb had given him a nudie suit because Sheb was working the movies. And we got him up to sing because we thought he was a big star. We didn't know who he was, but we thought he's a big star. That was my first encounter with old Roger.
One time, we were in Branson, and we were talking on the phone. He said, well, me and Mary and the kids are going to go eat lunch. You want to go with us? I said, well, I'm not ready yet. He said, well, if you get ready, and he told me where he's going. He said, come on over. Well, I went back to sleep. I didn't get ready. A year later, back in Branson, the phone rang. I picked it up, and Roger said, you ready yet?
I saw him on the streets of Nashville one morning and just happened to pass him. He walked up to me and he said, you know, Bob, all the world's a stage, and I've lost my script.
That's a great thought.
Roger started, I remember Roger from when I was about, couldn't have been more than 12, 13 years old. He played fiddle or bass in my dad's band and traveled on the road. And Dad traveled in a station wagon. And it used to, so it'd be me and Dad and Wade Ray in the front seat, and Roger Miller and Bobby Dyson was playing bass in the back seat. And Roger would sit in the back seat and go, whoop, 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 do, 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 do. And my dad would lean over and say, Roger, if you'd write some good songs, you'd be a hit songwriter. Never did. Dad fired him. Dad fired him.
One of my favorite stories that I don't think many people know, and I hope I get it right, but he was riding his motorcycle down Sunset in L.A., and he pulled up to a stoplight, and this is like in maybe late 60s when he was real hot, and a limo pulled up next to him, and the driver rolled down the window and said, sir, I've got Elvis Presley in the back, and he'd like to meet you. So they pull around a corner, and my dad gets off his motorcycle and gets in the back, and he and Elvis visit for a few minutes in the back of the limo, and as my dad's getting out, Elvis asked my dad for his autograph, and I thought, wow. Not too many people can tell that story. So
Elvis had good taste.
Bill, I think I might have told this before, but with Dean here, I want to just kind of throw it out. I don't know if he remembers or not, but Barbara had came with him. We all worked for Uncle Lynn Ellis up in Hammond, and we did 2 shows that day, and we went to eat with Lynn and his little boy, and Roger and Barbara and I said, Roger, if you would just go out there and do what you do on the bus and when we're all just hanging out, I said, they would love it. You don't need that band. He said, oh, Scooter, I can't go out there without a band. I raised my hand to God. This is a true story. And that was the beginning. He went back on the last show. I mean, and the show, I mean, he just stole the show, and he just like they never got off stage. And Barbara called me later and thanked me for that, because that was really the beginning of when he just really kind of bloomed and just doing it with just the guitar and everything, you know. But I got to be in on that, and I always felt a little bit of pride in here. Then also, I brought you a picture today, but when I got nominated I think I had a nomination for, maybe he says the same things to me anyway. Roger called me from London and asked me could he be my escort. And he knew that I had been recently divorced from Ralph, and he was one of the few that really wasn't intimidated by Ralph at the time. And so he called me, and I said, oh, no. And he said, yeah, I'm going to come after you, and you're going to go, and you're going to have an escort. It's going to be me. So I remember everybody got all excited trying to make a big deal out of that, but I knew it was Roger, just a heart-to-heart thing that he did for me. And I brought the picture of us sitting at the Grammys for you today, 8x10 glossy, as they say. But someone took it, was kind enough to give it to me. And I always appreciated that, too, that he, at a very sad and lonely time in my life, he would call me and cheer me up from all over, and I really appreciated that so much. And I don't know if you know that or not, but a lot of people do, my family especially. And seeing you today and seeing that face, I mean, it's just wonderful.
Frightening.
Just
We look like before
Yeah.
and after pictures, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. It's great. Just seeing you is great.
I got a classic story about Roger Miller. Lauren Green, I was writing for Lauren Green's publishing company, and he had a big hit record with 5-card stud. And Debbie Reynolds had this Scopatone music jukebox. Actually, it was one of the first musical videos. So Lauren couldn't do it because of contractual problems. So I said, we'll get Merle Kilgore to do it. So I came out there and checked in Gene Autry's hotel. And Roger Miller was in the lobby. So I told him what I was doing. He said, oh, great. We'll have some fun tonight. So he took me and showed me around and all the places that everybody goes. And we were up all night long. So he said, 6:30, everybody's going down for breakfast. Quick, get that billboard. And Roger had a fiddle. We got on the elevator at the very top. And he said, now hold the billboard. And Roger started playing classical music as people got on. And I was holding the billboard and turning the pages. Well, we got on the 7th floor, and Gene Autry gets on. Roger plays Back in the Saddle Again. Gene never cracked a smile or acknowledged anything till we got down to the bottom floor, and he said, y'all want some breakfast?
Are you the only child of Roger's that is pursuing a career?
Yeah, it's funny. He had 7 kids from 3 marriages, and I'm the only one that I got the name and the face and the music and the whole thing. Nobody else plays music in the family.
Did he encourage you to do this?
He did. Well, I related to what Roy said. He didn't encourage or discourage me, but he used to say that it's a hard business, and if I wanted to really do this, then I had to really want to do it on my own, and I had to make my way for myself. So in a way, I'm sure it was hard for him to let me kind of have my own way, but in the long run, it's been the best thing for me and kind of made me who I am.
Of course, he was known so much as a writer. You're writing too, right?
I'm writing too. I had an album out last year. I'm proud to say my album was on the New York Times Top 10 Albums of the Year list, and it was the only country album on the list, so I'm proud to do that for country music.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
You still do your impersonation of Buck Owens?
You know, I did a TV special, and they sprung that little clip on me of me 8 years old doing my Buck Owens impersonation, and man. No, I don't do it.
I see, okay.
You know, Dean, I was doing a movie in Flagstaff, Arizona back in '64, and Roger called and he said, hey, Bear, I want to come see you, hang out with you. So he did. He came early in the morning, been up all night. And I met him, had somebody meet him at the airport and brought him over. And he'd been in Hollywood, and he'd been working on a song. And he had it written out on, you know how they used to take these, put cardboards in shirts when you get your shirt clean, stick down the back. Well, he had a song written on the shirt. And so he was singing it for me. And then he left. He left in the middle of the night. Didn't stay too long for some reason. He just disappeared. And I wound up with this cardboard with the song written on it, and it was Dang Me. And I've had it, I had it until our house burned, and it burned up. But it was the original, it wasn't even finished, really, you know, because songs like that you kind of make up as you go along.
Roger Miller said one of the greatest things. Well, he said many, many great things. Somebody asked him one time if he co-wrote many songs. And Roger looked at him very seriously and said, did Rembrandt co-paint?
I want to mention one thing. Of course, everybody knows that Roger had one of the quickest minds in the business. But we had the pleasure of touring quite a bit with Roger, and we went by the Yellowstone National Park. Everybody except Roger had a camera, and Roger just standing on the highest rock he could find, just looking at the scenery. And everybody would say, "Oh, look at this, oh, look at this." And Roger just nonchalantly said, "Just think what God could have done if he'd had money." He did. On this same trip, we worked Tinker Air Force Base. A lot of you worked Tinker in Oklahoma City. And it was Ray Price and Roger Miller and myself and 2 or 3 other acts. And the NCOIC wanted to have the show outside, outside of the club. And they got everything set up, and then it began to rain. And they had to move everything back inside. And of course, Roger was just worried about his guitar. That's all he was worried about. He wasn't helping move nothing. And his sergeant was about to go crazy because we were starting the program late. And he run into Roger and he said, "Well, what time are you on, Mr. Millard?" Roger said, "Central Standard."
I considered myself very lucky to be able to co-write with the Rembrandt of country music one time in the back seat of a Rambler station wagon between Nashville and San Antonio. Roger and I wrote this little song together, and y'all helped me.
Your world was so different from mine, don't you see? We just couldn't be close, though we tried. We both reached for heavens, but ours weren't the same. That's what happens when 2 worlds collide. Your world was made up of things sweet and good. My world could never fit in, wish it could. 2 hearts lie in shambles, and oh, how they cry. That's what happens when 2 worlds collide. Was made up of things sweet and good. My world could never fit in, wish it could. 2 hearts lie in shambles, and oh, how they've cried. That's what happens when 2 worlds collide. That's what happens when 2 worlds collide.
Forgot to come in there. Got carried away.
I bet everybody in this room put that in an album or they've done it on stage. He told me just it was part of his act. I did.
You know
it in
what
an
Roger
album.
used to call that song? He called it Clyde.
Clyde.
Yeah.
Clyde.
That's what happens when 2 worlds collide.
Yeah.
Dean, you do us a song.
When I was a little boy, my dad wrote a song for me. It was kind of a Christmas present, and I'll do a little bit of it here. It's called Old Toy Trains. Old toy trains, little toy tracks, little boy toys coming from a sack, carried by a man dressed in white and red. Little boy, don't you think it's time you were in bed? And close your eyes, listen to the skies. All is calm, all is well. Soon you'll hear Kris Kringle and the jingle bells, bringing old toy trains, little toy tracks, little boy toys coming from a sack, carried by a man dressed in white and red. Little boy, don't you think it's time you were in bed? And then when I was a little bit older, I wrote a song for my dad, and it goes like this. My father was good to his oldest child. He taught me to see through his eyes, how to look to the future, how to learn from the past, how there's always some truth in life. When I was a boy, I stood in his shadow, turning my back to his words. But by the time I was older and becoming a man, I was amazed at how much he had learned. I'm always running, and I'm always walking, but I never end up alone. 'Cause the further I run, the closer I come to standing in my daddy's shadow. Life is a highway with dangerous curves and lessons around every bend. And if it weren't for my father and the things that he taught me, this road might have come to an end. But I'm always running and I'm always walking, but I never end up alone. 'Cause the further I run, the closer I come standing in my daddy's shadow. I'm always running, I'm always walking, but I never end up alone. 'Cause the further I run, the closer I come to standing in my daddy's shadow. To standing in my daddy's shadow.
That's great, Dean. That is absolutely wonderful. You got a lot of your dad, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
There was a line there that reminded me of something my dad said. You talk about you was amazed at how much he had learned. My dad told me one time, he said, "Son, you know, time we get old enough to realize just how smart our parents were, we got kids saying how dumb we are."
When I'm old enough to really live, I'll be old enough to die.
Talking about, I want to tell something about Conway, because I spent a lot of time on the road to his daddy.
Yes, you did.
And did a lot of things, but one of the funniest things Conway Twitty ever did, I went to a truck stop and ordered me some, it's got to do with food, ordered me some biscuits and gravy. And he came in, just about the time they ordered, came to me, and he looked at me and said, "Man, them look good." And the waitress said, "What do you want?" And he said, "I want some of them, but I'm on a diet. Better not. I got to lose some weight." He was always worried about that. And he said, "Boy, them look good." She said, "Well, what do you want?" He said, "I want some of them, but I can't. I got to eat something that ain't so fattening. I can't do that." And finally, she just got aggravated with him. She said, "Well, just what do you want?" He said, "Bring me a banana split."
Conway sent me for Christmas one year when it first came out. There was a cookbook called, when mine first started coming out, he sent me this cookbook called White Trash cooking, white trash cooking. That was his favorite. Had a picture on the front of it of a refrigerator, and it was in disarray, I'm telling you. Everything in it turned over and everything upside down, and I wouldn't take anything in the world for that. He was just the sweetest man I ever knew, and I enjoyed knowing him so much. And I know all of his kids, worked a lot of shows with Mike, and just enjoyed the family immensely.
Can I tell a little story about Conway?
Sure.
Conway, back in the late 50s, I built a little club down in Arkansas, Pine Bluff, had a restaurant and a supper club there, and we hired little bands to come in and perform. There was a fella coming through town that was selling out of the back of his trunk, he was selling cleaning supplies. He had come up with Pine Sol was the name of it, and since that time, all you ladies and everybody knows about Pine Sol. But he was the booking agent for Harold Jenkins. And Harold Jenkins was traveling some out of Helena, you know, over there in that area. And so once a month, Harold Jenkins came to the Trio Club, and he performed. And I made some tapes one time of Harold Jenkins, and if I'd have known he was going to be here, I would have brought them because I still have them. I threatened Conway. I said, Conway, if you ever get to the point where you don't know me, I will release them tapes. But I'll have to get those for his son, and I'm sure that he would, you know.
Love to have. What kind of songs was he singing then? Was he singing rock and roll or kind?
Well, he was kind of a rockabilly, I guess you could say, because he had big, you know, Joe and Pork Chop, and it was quite a little group there. And then all of a sudden, Maxine and I had started recording, and we were doing some things. And we were on the road one time, and we were coming in. And I remember we were coming in from up Fort Smith, coming down through there. And all of a sudden, we were listening in on the radio, and we heard this song come on the radio. Had no idea. It was a new song. And we listened to it, and Maxine and I both said, boy, that voice sounds familiar. And it was Conway. He had just recorded that first monster record that he
changed
had.
His name.
Yes, changed his name. It wasn't Harold Jenkins then. But they didn't. They announced this, you know, as Conway Twitty. Well, we didn't recognize that name. But that voice did sound a little familiar. But what a great, you know, he, but I will say this for him. He filled up that club every time that he was there. People loved him because he did good rock music, and he did sing good.
It's Only Make Believe is a song.
Only Make Believe, yeah.
That was the first record I ever bought.
Really?
First 45, yeah, 45.
Well, you were pretty young.
Well, you helped put taters on my plate. I appreciate that.
Made the first bus payment, you know.
But anyway, I still have that tape, and I'll have to get that tape for it.
You know, Bill, I remember when he was changing over from rock to country. We were working out west, and we stopped at a little service station, and Conway's new making, you know, that the new one was coming. All Make Believe, Only Make Believe was on, and I remember hearing the owner of the gas station saying, I just don't know if he'll make it in country music. He said, he's fine in that rock and roll. He says, I don't know why he's going over to country. Well, it wasn't long. I mean, what, a matter of months, and I mean, people knew that he was in country music to stay. And I want to say to Michael that, Michael, I hadn't seen you in a long time.
Hello, darling.
Good to see you. And I was on that record. Thank you. Oh, you know what? I was honored to be on so many of your dad's records, and that was one I was on, and I got to be Ellie White, and I did the trio part. We were your dad's trio.
I remember.
And then when I wasn't doing the trio part, he would say, Carol, go over there and sing with a Nashville sound. And that was, of course, the original Anita Kerr singers without Anita. And, of course, the girl that took her place was Jeanine Walker, and I would work with them. So that's why I was on that. But I remember we would work with Owen, and then we'd do some of it live and do some of it overdub. Didn't know we were really making musical history with songs like Linda on My Mind, This Time I've Heard Her More Than She Loves Me, Georgia Keeps Pulling on My Ring, and all those different ones that now people copy to get that sound. And we would stop and get something to eat at about 4 in the morning, like Johnny was saying. We'd stop at a truck stop, Union 76, coming from the barn, you know the one. And we'd be in there, and of course we'd be starved to death. And I'm from West Virginia, and I know how to to put away potatoes and meat and eggs and stuff. And I mean, I had me a good spread going there. And he said, you know what I like about her, Ellie? He said, she knows how to eat a good meal, he said. He always liked that part. But it was
He loved his groceries now. He loved to eat.
He did. It was an honor.
But you know,
to work with him.
whether Dad was singing rock and roll or he was, even when he was singing rock and roll, he had a country heart. I mean, his first love was always country music. The way Dad heard him say it many times, I started out in rock and roll and I worked my way up to country.
Yes, I've heard him say that.
He said, I just couldn't imagine back in those days, in the 50s, competing with my heroes, people like Webb Pierce, people that his heroes he grew up listening to on the Grand Ole Opry every Saturday night. I mean, my mama and papa would save up the batteries so it would be good and hot to listen to the Opry, you know. And these were his heroes, and he just couldn't imagine. It wouldn't even cross his mind to compete with people like that. So when he heard, you know, Elvis, he said, I believe I can do that now. And of course, he went through a lot of years and didn't. You know, a lot of hard years, and him and Big Joe and Pork Chop, all the guys traveling in the station wagon, pulling the trailer, and you know, I used to get one room with one bed, and they'd sleep crossways of the bed. You know,
I remember when Pork Chop was thin.
You remember when Chops was thin?
I remember when Pork Chop was thin. Yeah.
But Dad was up in Canada working, and he had just written the song "It's Only Make Believe" we were talking about a minute ago. And he said, now, I know this is a great song, and I'm going to put it out, and if it doesn't do anything, I'm going to quit the business and go home and get a real job, you know, be with my family. And so he did. He released it, and the song didn't do anything. And he got so discouraged, he actually quit the business and moved back home to Arkansas. And this true story. And Dad said about 2-3 months later, this DJ called him from Ohio, up in Columbus, Ohio. And man said, is your name Conway Twitty? And Dad said, well, it used to be. Why? I said, well, you got to come up here and do us a show, man. You got one of the hottest records in this town. Dad said, really, which one? You know, he'd released 7 or 8 records, and none of it had really done it. And the guy told him, that's only make-believe, and it's one of the hottest. And Dad said, really? And this was several months after he released it to show you how the business changed. Now they're up and gone in 6 weeks or whatever. But anyway, Dad said, well, you know, I've disbanded my group, and they're all spread out over God's creation, and, you know, we'd be rusty. We got back together. And Dad said, the guy said, look here, we're going to give you $2,000 cash. And Dad said, what time you want me there?
One time I was up at Ralph Emery's late night radio show, and Conway, he was a hot rock and roll act at the time, but he listened to Ralph all the time. And they came through town, and he came up there, and he told Ralph how much he loved country music, and he wrote country music. And Ralph said, well, sing some of it. He said, well, I don't have a guitar, but I had a guitar in my car. So I went down and got the guitar and came back up there, and he sang. And he told Ralph, he said, well, I've written this little song, this country song, and trying to get it recorded. It's called Walk Me to the Door.
But
Ray Price had such a
1962,
big
I
hit
believe,
on
wasn't it, Johnny? Right? 62 or 63 right in there?
Yeah.
62?
This was probably about 60, 61.
61, okay. I was talking about when the song came out, about
Yeah.
62. Yeah, Walk Me to the Door. So that shows you, here's a big rock and roll singer, you know, sold a lot of records in rock and roll, and he sat down and writes this great country song, Walk Me to the Door. So it proves here again, he might have been in rock and roll, but his heart was always with country music.
He had the little trademark growl in his voice. Do you do that?
Well, I can. Yeah, but I don't, you know, I never try to imitate. I mean, if my dad comes out in me, I'm certainly very proud of it, but I don't try to imitate him, never have. But, you know, every once in a while, you know, especially the ladies go around and say, do that thing your daddy did.
Do it.
And even, like that.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That thing came about by accident. Dad was in the studio recording, and he never had done that. And he started singing, I believe the song was Only Make Believe the first time he did it. And he came out of there, and his producer said, what's that growl thing you were doing, Dad? I said, I don't know, it just happened. You want me to go redo it and leave it out? And the guy said, no, get back there and do some more of it. Dad said, I went there and growled my way through a whole album. Been doing it ever since.
See, it worked for him. I was in one time recording for Capitol in the same session that I did Tips of My Fingers. Ken Nelson was A&R man. He's back in the booth. And I purposefully did a little growl and, you know, full of emotion. And Ken says, hold it. He come out and he says, we have to take that again. He says, your voice broke. I said, Ken, I tried as hard as I could to get it to break. He said, oh, you meant to have it in there? I said, yeah. He said, let's do it again. So it works for some, it doesn't work for all.
Conway would call you on the telephone, and he'd call me about 10, 11 o'clock at night. And when you picked up the phone, you say hello, and he'd say, hello, darling. And I missed that. I missed him calling me. Because he'd get me up about 12 o'clock, and we'd go ride around and listen to songs. We wouldn't speak. We'd just ride around. He'd play tapes, and he'd look over me, and I'd say, he'd just take it, throw it in the back seat. We just listen to boxes of tapes like that.
Did he ever record songs that you had written?
Certainly did. I knew too much about him. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I had recorded a couple of his songs, and one of the first times I ever worked with him, he came up to me and said, I really appreciate you cutting my songs. He said, is there anything I can do for you? And I told him about his song. He said, it's in my next album. And he went home and he did it. I mean, he was always true to his word. So.
One of the greatest compliments that a songwriter could be paid was to have Conway Twitty record one of his songs, because Conway listened to more songs than, I mean, before he would cut an album, he'd listen to 2,000 or 3,000 songs
just to get one album. Yes, sir,
Yeah.
sure would. Listen, I mean, that's what he loved it. I mean, he really did. Every time he'd leave, going on the road, he'd have a big old box full of tapes, songs that people had sent in or whatever, and he'd bounce down the road. He'd listen over and over and over.
And he listened to songs for other people.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, he would hear a song and he'd think, boy, it's good for Cal Smith, or that's good for me, or just different people that were in. See, I was part of the company, and different people in the company, he would listen, he'd hear a song, and he'd say, hey, I found a song for you. But he listened all the time. That's all he did, man.
He had a great sense of who he was and what his fans wanted to hear him sing.
He had a great sense of who Conway Twitty was.
That's what I mean.
He knew he was Harold Jenkins, and he knew who Conway Twitty was, and he knew what Conway Twitty should say, what he should do, what he should sing, what he should look like. He knew exactly.
Why, for years, did he not talk on the stage?
Well, the way he put it, he said, I'm not that never have been that good at telling jokes, and I don't know if people like my jokes, but I'm pretty sure they like my music, so I'm just going to stick to singing. And Dad was always kind of on the shy side, and so for years and years and years, Big Joe Lewis, bass player, would introduce the songs, and of course Dad would step up the mic and sing, and he just felt like he let his music do the talking.
But he finally later in his career relaxed more and talked to the audience, and I think they liked that.
Dad would say every now and then you got to do something different, make a little change, give people something to talk about, and make them a little excited. Ooh, I can't believe. And when Dad started talking, it was like, it's unbelievable. People say, God, he can talk. I can't believe it.
We were somewhere one night, and it may have been Winston-Salem, but he had a record out, and the radio station wouldn't play it. And he got very upset about it. And he went through most of the show. Then it came time for that song, and he said, I play this town every year. I've been here once a year for so many years, and you've never heard me talk. He said, I'll tell you why. I never had nothing to say, but I got something to say right now. And he said, the radio station that's promoting this show is not playing this new record. And so he did the song. He said, and I want y'all to be able to decide whether this record should be played or not. And did the song, and the people went crazy because it was the first time they'd ever heard him talk. But he had something to say, and he was saying it. I can't remember what the song was. No, it was not one of the bigger records he had, but I can't remember what it was. But then after that, he went in the dressing room, and it just took a lot of emotion out of him to have to talk.
When he had his agency downtown, and Jim ran the agency,
Jimmy J?
Yeah, Jimmy J. And I had recorded a song for Koala Records, Slow Hand. I had to tuck it and put it country because the girls had it in the pop field. And it was about 33, 34, somewhere in that neighborhood in the charts. And I had the record with me down there, and Conway was there that day. And I said, Conway, there's a song, you ought to cut this, I'm telling you. I said, please. I said, take it home, listen to it. Well, he said, thank you for it. He said, yours is in the charts. I said, yeah, but it ain't. They can't even, Jesse James and 40 Thieves couldn't get the record. You couldn't steal it, much less sell it.
That's another can of worms.
Yeah. But I said, man, listen to it. I think it's a smash in the country field. He recorded it, and the rest of it's history. And I sure did.
Smokey.
My favorite Conway Twitty song is 15 years ago today. And I like the story behind it. They've been talking about Conway listening to songs, and the song is it. If what I heard is correct, he was driving down the highway, listening to a local radio station, and he heard this record being played by somebody he never heard of, some obscure artist like Smokey Smith. And but he liked it, and he stopped. He called the radio station, said, "Who is that? Who recorded that?" And he found the kid that wrote it and recorded this little independent label and brought him into the session when he recorded it. And that kind of says a lot to me, but I think that was one of his greatest songs.
Conway's fans were primarily the women. The women loved Conway. Tell the story, because he used to laugh about this. Tell the story about the time that he did not realize he was playing for a convention, and there was no women in the audience, there was just men. And the lights were out, and he could not see in the audience.
He had gotten to the point where he opened the show with Hello, Darling, you know. Because they would introduce him, Conway Twitty, and he'd walk out, of course, applause and everything, and then the music would stop, and he'd point like the first couple rows and say, "Hello, darling." Of course, women would scream, you know. And this night he walked out, and of course everything, lights screaming, and it boom, band stopped. He pointed the first couple rows and said, "Hello, darling." You could have heard a cricket chirp, you know, nothing. And it threw him so bad he forgot the words. Now, he wrote the song, but he forgot he just said, "Just stop. Something's wrong somewhere. Turn up the lights. Something's wrong." And Dad said, they turned them lights up, and I swore to God I could see nothing but old bald-headed men sitting all over the... I said, "My God, where's the women?" And he told the guys, "What, you know, I'm sorry, I'm used to screaming and hollering when I do that song." They had a big laugh about it, but that's a true story.
You know, Bill, he was always, I would hear him talk, and we would talk, and he'd say, "Ellie, write that down. Did you hear what she said? Write that down." You know, all the songwriters have done that. You probably have too. But he would say, make sure that anything he recorded was always respectful to women. He would never record a song that would put a woman down. And do you remember ever hearing him talk like that, Michael?
So.
Because, yeah, that was a big thing to him. "No, I can't record that." He said, I heard him turn one down. He said, "I can't record it. It puts a woman down." He said, "I won't do that."
Jan, do you remember the night we were flying in the airplane, and Conway's plane was flying out off of our wingtip?
I do.
And we were on the radio, and we were writing a song?
Yeah, coming back from North Carolina or somewhere.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, we had written, what, I never once stopped
We were
loving.
working on I Never Once
Working
Stopped
on-
Loving You.
Yeah, and Conway was flying right along beside, and we thought that'd be a great time to pitch a song. And even though it was against all FAA rules and regulations and everything, but it was late. Nobody was listening but us. And we actually pitched the song to Conway from plane to plane at so many thousand feet, and he said, "I'll record it."
And he did.
And he did.
It was in the Hello, Darling album.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which
One
And
time
we'll be
he-
forever grateful.
The first time I ever heard Linda on My Mind, I was getting a divorce from a girl named Linda. And we're sitting on the bus, I think at Greenville, South Carolina, just me and him. And he started singing. He said, "I've just written this song." He started singing about laying there with Linda on my mind. And he looked up at me and said, "It ain't your Linda."
I think it
The
would be a
first
good time to have Michael Twitty sing, but since you haven't actually had a chance, you hadn't rehearsed with the band yet, have you? Actually.
We can do Hello, Darling.
If we can do it, let's do
All
it.
right. See you there, Mike. Y'all feel free to jump in there now. I need all the help I can
Now,
get.
do we scream when you say hello, darling?
Only the ladies,
Just
not
the
you,
women.
Bill.
All right, the women scream.
Hello, darling. Nice to see you. Yeah. It's been a long time. You're just as lovely as you used to be. How's your new love? Are you happy? Hope you're doing fine. Just to know it means so much to me. What's that, darling? How am I doing? I'm doing all right, except I can't sleep, and I cry all night till dawn. What I'm trying to say is I love you, and I sure do miss you, and I'm so sorry that I did you wrong. Look up, darling, let me kiss you. Just for time's sake, let me hold you in my arms just one more time. Thank you, darling. May God bless you, and each step you take bring you closer to the things you seek to find. Goodbye, darling. I gotta go now. Gotta try to find a way to lose these memories of your love so warm and true. And if you should ever find it in your sweetheart to forgive me, come back, darling, I'll be waiting for you. Think about it, darling. Go ahead.
I gotta tell you one more thing about that happened with Conway, and this was, I guess, probably happened all the time, but he didn't hear about it. But we were standing backstage, he and I were together. Like I say, for about 3 years, I was with him all the time. And we were standing backstage, and this guy came up to him and said, "Let me shake your hand." Conway said, "Well, sure." And he shook his hand. He said, "I just want you to know that you come to town once a year, and I always bring my wife to see you, and it's the best night of the year."
Ronnie, your dad was, my goodness, he was so many things. He was a songwriter, a great song stylist, performer. At the Grand Ole Opry, legendary for staying out there until the show would end at midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning. He'd still be there singing, and 2 or 3 in the morning, he'd be out there signing autographs.
He just liked attention.
He had a very special rapport with the fans. I mean, the fans loved him.
He did. You know, Jeannie mentioned a little while ago about the advice that he gave me. You know, the way I remember it was, don't stand in front of me and don't forget your fans. And
in that order.
But he.
What is it? Is it because of your dad and my dad, same way? They never would forget the fans. I like your dad he taught you to go sign autographs for as long as till the last one was gone.
Sure.
Like your dad, I can remember sitting for 3 hours and 4 hours and signing autographs.
I think everybody in this room feels that same way. I think this is why country music was great in the '60s and '50s and '70s, because they did not, we did not forget the fans.
It seems to be a dying thing these days.
Marty and I used to go from the Grand Ole Opry House on Saturday night. I never knew when he was going to do it, but he just announced on the 11:30 show. He said, "Jeannie Pruitt and I will be over in Opryland signing autographs tonight." And we've been over at 3 o'clock in the morning, lots of mornings, still signing. And Marty used to take that little guitar with him, and the fans that didn't get to hear their special song that night, because he only had just a little time, half an hour show, but all the fans that would come over there, the ones that didn't get to hear their song, he'd take requests till 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning and just sing one right after the other.
The Park
just he and the
Police
guitar.
loved him.
It was wonderful. The police used to want to run us
They were
off.
crazy about Daddy. They wanted to hang around the park 3 o'clock on the Sunday morning.
Yeah, they loved it, but the fans
He'd come
loved it.
by
and that's
line
what-
balls, and at midnight, and we'd get in the car and run out to his office, and he'd sit there and sing till 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know when he slept.
He'd only slept.
He did.
He was 57 when he died, and if you took the amount of hours in the day that he slept and kind of averaged it out over, the normal person would sleep 8 hours a day maybe. He probably slept 3 hours. He was probably a 90-year-old man as far as the amount of time that he was actually alive.
He was just an insomniac.
He was. Mama said that was because the first time he ever worked the Opry, when he was invited in 1952 sometime, he drove from Phoenix to Nashville straight, did the Opry, and drove straight back because he still had a job he had to get back to. And she said he never slept after that. He never slept right, you know. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but I'm sure, you know, it didn't help. But, you know, it's funny because, you know, you told a story. He loved to be a champion of the little guy. You know, if he saw somebody, some big shot somewhere in town that was kind of getting down on a small artist or something like that, he would, at a restaurant or something like that around there, he would light into him so quick, you know. But he always had an affinity for the guy that was getting picked on, you know, and he always did everything he could to protect him, you know.
Was it Jimmy Dickens? Who was it at the Opry that helped your dad get here?
Daddy had a TV show. It started out with a radio show in Phoenix. He had worked the nightclub circuit there starting about 1948 or so, and worked there for a couple of years and was starting to kind of get a name for himself. He heard this guy on the radio station one day, and it had a 15-minute show where he just sang cowboy songs, and Dad said, "Man, that guy's bad. You know, he can't." I said, "I can sing better than that." So he was laying brick at the time. He told the guy he was working for he had to go to the dentist in Phoenix, and he went home, got his guitar, strapped it on the back of his motorcycle, drove to Mesa from Glendale, which is about 45 minutes at the time, I guess, and walked into the station and said, "I want to see the owner." And the girl at the desk said, "Well, he's not here. He's in Denver," you know. And the owner was probably never there. He's probably worth $40 million. But she said, "Well, maybe you'd like to see the station manager." He said, "Yeah, that's who I want to see." And so I guess he was just, I don't know if he was drunk or what, but at the time he was drinking, so I can say that. But I don't know. I don't think he was drunk, but I think he might have. He had some courage there. He bolstered himself up and said, I want to go in and you know, I want to sing for you because the guy you've heard is not, I mean, the guy you got on your show is not very good." And he did Strawberry Roan, and the guy liked him and hired him and fired the other guy. I don't know. But he, from that point,
He's laying bricks somewhere.
yeah, maybe so.
He's some
At
mad
that
guy
point,
in Phoenix.
yeah. At that point, the radio station turned into a TV station. This was around 1950 or so, 51. And the station manager said, "You know, to keep your radio job, you're going to have to do the TV show too." And of course, Daddy was petrified. Anybody that knew Daddy back then knew that he was not very gregarious on stage back when he first got in the business. And all he did was he had a list of songs in his shirt pocket. He'd pull them out and sing, and never said a word. He'd just sit there and sing with him and the guitar for 15 minutes. And one day, Jimmy Dickens was coming through town, and he was doing a show, Grand Ole Opry show, and he went on to the TV show to plug the show. And he heard Daddy singing and liked it and thought he sang pretty good. When he got to L.A., at the time Jimmy was on CBS, and he told Uncle Art Satherley there's a guy in Phoenix that he needed to go see and listen to. And combination of that with the fact that the station owner, I forget exactly, Harry Stone was somehow involved with the station. Either he owned the station or was the manager, but he had been connected here with the Opry, through the years. He got him in touch with, or got Fred Rose to come out to listen to some of his songs, or sent some songs to him. Fred Rose signed him up to a writing contract with Acuff Rose. He got, and also got him the first guest spot on the Opry. And then when the Sony deal came, or the CBS deal came through, that kind of clinched it. We were moving to Nashville at that point, and we moved here in January of 1953. And I think he joined the Opry on the 19th of January of 53.
Me and Ronnie know each other we've known each other for a while and worked shows, but one time I had some songs that I wrote, and I went down to, his dad had a little recording studio down off Music Row, and I went in there and was putting down these songs, and his dad came in. And he came in, and he was just covered in grease and dirt and just looked awful, and pulled this jacket off, and I went over and introduced myself, to him, and said, "I worked some shows with your son." And I said, "How'd you get all filthy?" And he said, "Well, I was out on the interstate, and these three elderly women were out there broke down." And he said, "I just hate to see somebody broke down on the side of the road, nobody helping them." He pulled over and got out and changed their tire for them. And I was sitting there, I said, "Man, that's fantastic. A big star like Marty Robbins would get out and change somebody's tire." And he said, "Well, I hated to see them stuck there, but," he said, "also at the races, I have pit guys that change my tires, and I kind of wanted to see if I could change one." And about that time, we both looked over at his jacket and looked at each other and said, "I think you need to stick to driving."
What did your mom think when all of a sudden the singing cowboy became a race car driver?
She didn't like it too much, but at that point, she kind of knew it was not going to make much difference what she thought. So she kind of just stayed away. She went to the races a few times and made her nervous wreck, so she just decided just to, out of sight, out of mind was the best policy there, because if she was watching him, she knew she'd be a nervous wreck. So
I've got to tell my favorite, one of the favorite things. He was very serious about his driving. He wasn't out there for the fun of it. No. But the big guys let him run with them until he come in about second or third in a big race. And right after the race, they had a meeting of the drivers. Marty's sitting there, and they all had a spokesman. He got up and says, "Marty, we don't play and sing, and you don't run in the top 10. If you want to run with us, you just run in the back."
I'll tell you some of the best advice Marty ever gave me as a songwriter. He said, Marty, look at it when you write it, sleep on it that night, get up and look at it again the next day, and if you can think of another word in the English language that sounds better than the ones you put in it, take that out and put it in. And I think that's the reason he wrote such great lyrics, because he really studied his own work as well as other people's works, I'm sure. But Marty had probably some of the most original melodies of any artist that I ever heard sing or watched write. He always had his own special brand of melody.
Marty's responsible for me being a recording artist. He really is, because back in 54, 55, I don't remember when, I was living in North Long Beach, and I hocked everything I had in the world. We got $35 and rented a studio in Long Beach called Garrison Studio, and I got Wynn Stewart's band with Ralph Mooney and Pete and all of them, and went in the studio, and I only had enough money for 1 hour studio time. And I did a demo on I Couldn't Keep From Crying, one of Marty's first records, because I was a huge Marty fan. And Speedy West took that demo to Ken Nelson at Capitol, and he signed me up. And I never got to tell Marty that. Never did.
Now, Marty Robbins, one time, my father had died in 1963, and I was about 3 months old, and Marty Robbins wrote a song, and it's called Two Little Boys. He wrote it about me and my brother. And ever since I've been 3 months old, I've been receiving BMI checks. So I want to thank Marty for that.
Wow.
Your
mama recorded that, right?
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
Marty loved Hawkshaw.
They were big buddies. I know that. Ronnie, what's your favorite Marty Robbins song?
I'd have to say probably "Man Walks Among Us," which I did not prepare that. So it's just a song he wrote about the desert and how civilization has just kind of encroached on it, and how the desert will one day be gone. And if you go out to Phoenix nowadays, you can just about pretty well see that that's happened. But it's just he's singing the song from the animal's perspective. And it's just a neat, pretty song. But I don't know. There's so many. Every one of them have got a different meaning to me in my life. Like when El Paso, when he wrote El Paso, we were in a Cadillac, which I think Singing the Blues had paid for, but which he didn't write. But no, we were going to Phoenix. I want to say 57, probably 57, 58, and I can just remember him being in the back seat, and I was in the front seat. Mama was driving, and we were going through El Paso, I didn't really realize even where we were at the time, because when you're driving for a couple of days, you don't really know where you're at after a while. So, but he's writing the song down, and all these words are coming out, and it's just like, as fast as he can write them down, he's singing them, and I thought, man, that is a neat song, And I, looking back, I bet there's probably 7 or 8 minutes of song. I'm sure he discarded a lot of the verses, but I have no idea for sure. But I just remember when he would sing that, for 100 miles, I guess, just singing it and rewriting it and changing things, and we'd get to like Lordsburg, New Mexico. He'd put it down, then going back through and come back, he'd get his tablet and he'd start writing again. And I just never thought anything more about it until about a year later, and it's out on an album, and of course they did that whole album in, I think, 4 hours.
The Gunfighter
album? The Gunfighter album they did in 4 hours. They did El Paso in 3 takes. And this was with like a 3-track. They had the left track, right track, and vocal track was down the middle. And I think it was one of the first 3 tracks, I think. I think, before that, I think it'd been a lot of 2-track
Bill?
stuff.
Also,
Yeah.
what I really loved about that at the time, that was around the time I think they made the rules. All the disc jockeys made the rules that if anybody, I'm sure you heard this too, and that the records could not be over a certain amount of time. Remember that? And that's why, I mean, we had to go down to where, like, Last Date didn't have an instrumental in it. So many of mine, we would just like sing them through and that was it. And I just always was just, yes, when Marty did El Paso, I was like, I thought that was for all the little guys too, like take that. I mean, because it was right in that time.
Well, the
And,
disc
that became a
jockeys
good
liked
thing.
it too, because they'd play El Paso and go down the hall to the little
Right,
boys' room.
it was great, yeah.
CBS actually did a cut-down version. They cut out a verse or 2 of it, and so many people complained about it that they started playing the album cut. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the thing about it is, what a lot of people never realized about this, and I'm sure Daddy would agree that the cowboy didn't get shot because he killed the guy. He got shot because he stole the horse.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Boy, I thought that was going to go a lot better.
Sing the song for us. Sing El Paso.
We'll give it a try. I don't have any harmony here, so
you got a bunch of harmony.
See, that's what. See, I wanted. Did you see how that worked? That worked pretty well. Out in the West Texas town of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl. Nighttime would find me in Rose's cantina. Music would play and Felina would whirl. Blacker than night were the eyes of Felina, wicked and evil while casting a spell. My love was deep for this Mexican maiden. I was in love, but in vain I could tell. One night a wild young cowboy came in, wild as the West Texas wind. Dashing and daring, a drink he was sharing with wicked Felina, the girl that I love. So in anger I challenged his right for the love of this maiden. Down went his hand for the gun that he wore. My challenge was answered in less than a heartbeat. The handsome young stranger lay dead on the floor. Just for a moment I stood there in silence, shocked by the foul evil deed I had done. Many thoughts raced through my mind as I stood there. I had but one chance, and that was to run. Out through the back door of Roses I ran, out where the horses were tied. I caught a good one, it looked like it could run. Up on its back and away I did ride, just as fast as I could from the West Texas town of El Paso out to the Badlands of New Mexico. Back in El Paso my life would be worthless. Everything's gone in life, nothing is left. It's been so long since I've seen the young maiden. My love is stronger than my fear of death. I saddled up and away I did go, riding alone in the dark. Maybe tomorrow a bullet will find me. Tonight nothing's worse than this pain in my throat. And at last here I am on the hill overlooking El Paso. I
can see Rose's cantina below. My love is strong and it pushes me onward. Down off the hill to Felina I go. Off to my right I see 3 mounted cowboys. Off to my left ride a couple or more. Shouting and shooting, I can't let them catch me. I have to make it to Rose's back door. Something is dreadfully wrong, for I feel the burning pain in my side. Though I am trying to stay in the saddle, I'm getting weary, unable to ride. But my love for Felina is strong, and I rise where I've fallen. Though I am weary, I can't stop to rest. I see the white puff of smoke from the rifle. I feel the bullet go deep in my chest. From out of nowhere, Felina has found me, kissing my cheek as she kneels by my side. Cradled by 2 loving arms that I'll die for. One little kiss and Felina, goodbye. Good job, guys.
Ronnie.
Is it time to eat now?
No.
Ronnie,
I'm gonna
Ronnie
do Mr.
has-
Shorty in San Angelo.
I'll tell you something. You talking about the people getting upset about them shortening that record down? I was at his office, and I don't know if he had just gotten it or what, but he played it and he listened to it, and it was the cut down version. And your daddy got mad about that too. He got real upset about that.
I hate to have been there.
Hey, I have a question. Who did the harmony with him on the record?
Bobby Sykes. Bobby Sykes did the low harmony, and Jim Glazer did the high.
Jim Glazer.
Now, the Glazer brothers used to do it on the road show.
Right.
But now Jim was the only Glazer that actually was on the recording. He was 19 at the time.
Because that was great. The
Oh,
harmony
it was absolutely
The
wonderful.
most wonderful thing about that record when it came out is that, you know, we used to all be country and Western artists. Remember, first we were hillbilly artists, and then we became country and Western artists, and now you're just country artists. But what El Paso did is it put Western music back in for a while. Because for the longest period of time, I used to go on the road with your dad, and you too. And you and I used, and same with your dad, we used to have to sit backstage and say, okay, now which songs are we going to, you're going to do, you want to do Tumblin' Tumbleweeds? Okay, I'll do Cool Water, and so on and so on. Same thing, I used to go sit on the bus with your dad and do the same thing. Say, okay, you do this one and I'll do that one. You know what your dad used to call me? He used to call me a heavy metal cowboy singer.
Excuse me, go ahead.
I was going to say, Rex and Michael and Robin and I can tell some stories about some of the shows that we have been on through the years. Promoters in their genius.
Back when we still looked like kids.
Yeah. We got a lot of these shows that were billed as the Sons of Superstar Spectaculars. One of them that I can think of offhand was up at Bean Blossom. A lot of you may have gone up to Bean Blossom, Indiana. Mr. Birch Monroe was still, I guess, running. This particular day he was running. Now we weren't working where they had the festival. We were working the barn theater. I guess it was a theater. It was a barn, but it was, the bluegrass thing, would seat 15,000 people. The barn would seat about 300. It's up just like about 5 miles north of the Little Nashville Opry House up there off of, I forget what the highway is now. I guess I was the first one to get there. We were doing a Sunday show, and it was Michael and Robin Young and myself and Michael Twitty. And I drove, and my contract always said, artists to be billed as Ronnie Robbins and all advertising. When I first started, I was performing as Marty Robbins Jr. for about 9 months, and Dad and I talked about it, and we both thought we made a mistake, and it was best, especially after I got out of the service, it was best to go ahead and try to perform under my own name. So anyway, this is 7 or 8 years later. This was about 1977, 78, I guess. I drove in, and they had gone all out on advertising. There was a big 3x5 poster board. And I know they went all out because all three of our names were in different color magic marker. So, and it was coming today only. Marty Robbins Jr., Farron Young Jr., Conway Twitty Jr. So, now I know I've worked these guys enough to know that they weren't, they kind of had felt like we did at the time. I was a little bit older than them, so I was a little bit of a mentor to them. Like, boy, couldn't get much better than that, huh? But anyway, so we were working with Mr. Birch Monroe, Bill's older brother, and I guess he had been 90 then. But anyway, I said, Mr. Monroe, I saw the sign out, and I really appreciate it. It's really nice, but we're all three of us are really trying to make it on our own, and really would appreciate it if you could, just call us by our own names, And so we went out and marked through everything and put our names down. So I was the first one to go on. He introduced us, and I think there again about 12 people showed up. This was a great stage too. It had a walking mic. You could step down on the stage and move the mic toward you, because there was about a 6-inch drop there. It was kind of a trampoline effect. And anyway, y'all worked there. I'm not telling y'all anything you don't already know. But
you got your daddy's sense of humor.
Anyway, so
and
Mr. Monroe, well, you know how Mr. Monroe talked. He talked a lot like that, And well, we got three fine young gentlemen here today. I'm going to introduce this first one now. He wants to be known as Ronnie Robbins, but his real name is Marty Robbins Jr. Give him a big hand.
Baby Lord.
Michael and Robin had to hold me back.
He was not a happy camper.
Oh, boy. But we had a lot of fun. We worked out in West Yellowstone, Montana one time. And you were on that one? Yeah, see, Rex and I, we stayed an extra day. These guys left a day early, and they got paid in cash. And time Rex and Ronnie left, there was nothing left to go around. And then about a month later, the guy died of a heart attack. So you really can't do much to chase him down at that point.
Remember what he did? It was hilarious. He made us stay the extra day, and so you stayed the night. He gave you a check. He gave us checks, remember, so you can go to the bank the next day to cash it. But what he didn't tell us is the last flight out of West Yellowstone, Montana for the whole year was at 10 o'clock the next morning. So there's no possible way you can get the check cashed.
Yeah, they closed the airport down.
Closed the airport down. And the other thing is that they did to me in the beginning, and I know they did it to all the other juniors and siblings. They used to put Rex Allen in 4-foot letters. And Junior in about 2-inch letters. And then the day you got to town, they'd rip the Junior off the bottom of it, so it looked like it's same stuff.
We were lucky to get back from that show, because me and Michael went to the airport, and Michael carried this guitar player with him. Was it Alan? He was crazy. And we're sitting there, and it's this airport is like a phone booth. Little bitty old airport, and this guitar player he had could make that beep, that noise like the metal detector makes. He could make it perfect. And we're sitting there, and everybody that come walking through there, he'd go beep. They had this little cop there looked like Barney Fife, and he'd come over to grab them, and he'd run the metal detector on. He'd make them run through again. And he'd go beep. Finally, he realized it was Michael's guitar playing. This isn't funny. This is serious business here. This is FAA and all this stuff, And so we're like, yes, sir. We're very sorry. About 5 minutes later, somebody else walked through. Beep. He does it again. Guy comes over. I said, I don't know these people. I have no idea where they're from. I'm trying to get back to Nashville. Michael's going, yeah, you know me. I'm like, no, I don't know you. I don't know this guy. Let me up out of here. So we just barely made it back from there.
Ronnie, I was with your dad on an occasion that should have been a wonderfully happy occasion. And it was a disaster. And I have felt so sorry for all of these years for the way that this whole thing turned. I was on the show with him when he went to play in El Paso after the record had been #1 in the country. And, of course, it was not only a country hit, it was a crossover hit in the pop field. And somebody, in all of their brilliance, and here goes another can of worms, they decided to promote it on a pop station, a rock and roll station, instead of on a country station. There was a big country station in El Paso, Khey. Could have packed that place. They had to turn them away. But they promoted it with a rock and roll station. They had Marty Robbins Day there, the mayor and everything. And instead of him having thousands and thousands of people. There were about 400 or 500 people that showed up for this show. He was so disappointed. And we just had to, everybody just had to console him, you know, and tell him it wasn't his fault.
I never knew that, but I knew there was a reason he didn't work El Paso for a long time, so I suspect that's what it was. But I know he went back there. They had another one for him in the late 70s, and I think it turned out a lot
What
nicer.
it should have been.
Yeah.
You know, Marty may be one of the very few of us, or maybe the only one of us, who never let a promoter take a bath on any show he ever worked. Marty always went and checked those receipts, and if there was more that had been put out than had been took in, Marty'd say, well, you just keep mine, I'll catch you next time. He never, ever let promoters lose money on his shows. And to be honest with you, I can't remember a whole lot of shows that he worked that wasn't full or pretty well sold out. Even way before he started working the things with Merle Haggard and all these other people, the old man, as we called him, was still filling up the houses. And it was because of great songs and his connection with the fan on the stage and the eye contact with the folks out front was the best I ever saw. He could work probably a microphone better than any artist that ever worked. Yep.
Yeah, the other thing he did too, is if you have, and you know this too, is if there were 3 acts on the show, on the bill, Marty would always go on before intermission. Did you remember? He never would. You could, he took the good spot and left all the junk for the rest of us. I mean, well, no, he'd go out there.
He was clever that way.
Yeah, he's clever. He'd kill it. He'd go out and kill an audience, and then the rest, everybody get up and leave. I've seen people get up and walk
Left like
out
the building was on fire.
Yeah, left.
One time, we were working in Redding, California. I'll never forget it. And I did my part, and I went out and watched him because I love to watch Marty. And he's doing his show, and some guy walked down to the front of the stage and started hollering at him. And Marty tried to ignore him at first, and then the guy just kept hollering. He couldn't. And he finally said, buddy, won't you go on and sit down and shut up and let me do my show? And the guy kept hollering. And the only thing, Marty told me later, said the only thing I could hear was desert. And I thought he was saying, won't you go back to the desert? And so he said, I walked over to him ready to whip him. And I looked at him, he said, my God, it's my cousin. And he was saying, let's go back to the desert and play.
Why don't you do a Marty Robbins song for us?
Well, it's good. Is it dinner time?
You sing for your supper.
Well, I'll tell you what, the first time, I think it was the first time I met Marty, he'd come out to Fresno and he was fixing to go to do the movies. They were doing the cowboy movies, and he had a new record coming out. And I liked it pretty good. And it was, hit me a chord. Is that a D? Well, I never felt more like singing the blues, 'cause I never thought that I'd ever lose your love, dear. You got to do me this way. Well, I never felt more like running away. Why should I go? I couldn't stay without you. You got to sing the blues. The stars no longer shine. The dream is gone, I thought was mine. There's nothing left for me to do but cry over you. Well, I never felt more like running away. Why should I go? I couldn't stay without you. You got me singing the blues. Somebody play it. The bridge. Well, the stars no longer shine. The dream is gone, I thought was mine. There's nothing left for me to do but cry over you. Well, I never felt more like running away. Why should I go? I couldn't stay without you. You got me singing the blues without you. You got me singing the blues. The reason I never could remember the last part of that was because your daddy could never sing it because he started laughing.
Hey, I got to tell you something that's a mystery. And It was unbelievable. I was on tour with Marty when I first came from Spring Hill, Louisiana to Nashville. I had a top 10 record in Canada, and it was a big tour with Marlon Payne in Canada. And I got to really know him on that 30-day tour. He told me that Webb Pierce gave him his first guitar when he came to Nashville. Said he had an old beat-up guitar, and Webb gave him a new Martin guitar, and he was always beholding to Webb. Well, he had his first race in Nashville, the Winston Cup race, and Webb Pierce sang the national anthem. Right, and I was in St. Louis, and Billy Deaton called me, and he said, Merle, Marty wants you to come and start the race. I said, I'm in St. Louis, how can I start the race? He said, Marty is sending a jet to pick you up. I said, sending me a jet? So I said, yeah, I'll do it. Well, yeah, that'd be great. So a Rockwell jet came and picked me up in St. Louis, flew me to Nashville. There was a limo, rushed me to the racetrack. And I said, on the way, I said, well, every other star in the world must be out of town. And somebody suggested my name. And so I went up there and I waved that green flag and did what they told me and dropped it. I went back up, and upstairs in the booth at the racetrack was Johnny Cash and everybody that was somebody in Nashville. And I cornered Marty a couple days later, and I said, Marty, I want to thank you so much for allowing me to start your race, but why me? And he said, why not you? And walked off. I never understood it. With God, that was one of the greatest honors I've ever had. But it's still a mystery to me, you know. Why me, Lord?
He didn't have a jet, so I don't know.
I got to learn a lot about Marty Robbins because, and I listened to a lot of his singing under forceful resources. You know what I mean? I was listening to Marty Robbins sing all night while I was waiting to go on at the Midnight Jamboree. He'd always run over at least. He'd always. Whose fault?
Hank Snow. He'd run it over, and then Marty'd have to take his time.
And then he'd take more of his time and more of his time.
Jack,
I mean, sometimes he'd be out in Opryland singing at 2:00 in the morning after the air's already gone off.
Oh, Jack, we thought we'd solved that at one point. I was the announcer for Ernest at the Midnight Jamboree, and we pre-taped Marty doing El Paso on the Opry.
I see.
So at the proper time, the engineer at the station would play the tape. People on radio thought they were closing out the Opry. People at the Opry House didn't know. Marty didn't know. At least we hoped he didn't know.
I'll bet
And
he
we could go
did.
on with the Midnight Jamboree. First night worked like a charm. 10 after, I heard them start El Paso. They're playing the tape. We got it made. My job was to go get Ernest. When the bullet went deep in his chest, that was my cue to go get Ernest, bring him back. I carried his guitar. I said, oh, Ernest, this is great. 10 after, we're on in just a few minutes. Come on. The bullet just went deep in his chest. So we went back there. We're standing on stage in front of all the people. We're about to go on. He gets through with the song. He said, Ernest, you thought that was on tape, didn't you? Guess what, buddy? So here we stand for at least 30 more minutes. We can't leave because we don't know what his last song is going to be now. Ernest says, well, I reckon I'm just going to have to kill him. So much for do you know who told him by any chance? We always wondered.
I thought he came on to the record shop while El Paso was playing that night. And he
Now, he
walked in
did
on
that
you
one
guys.
night, too.
remember
I wasn't
that.
there that night, but he sure did that
You
one
know,
night, too.
I don't know what the latest was, but I know my group and I did the backup for him, so we'd stay and sing with him. And I know the latest we'd stay till he did El Paso, Ronnie, and then he would do more of the Western. So we weren't needed because, you know, he had his sound. But we would stay until then, and I think the latest we ever stayed and worked with him before he did El Paso was 1:45 in the morning. And he still had his Western set to do yet. Right, yeah. So
I know when they did the PBS, when PBS taped the show back in '81 maybe, and I think they finally turned the cameras off at 2:00, and I think he still played for a while.
still
after
going.
That, but,
He had a little song for Ernest he'd sing when he knew Ernest was over there waiting for him to get off. Ernest loves me, this I know. Just last week he told me so. Something like that.
Hey, Bill, you know, Marty was kind of a cocky character. And I say that in a loving way. We were working Spencer, Iowa together, and we had about 20,000 people out there, and I had the first hour, and Marty had the second hour. And so I did my show, and I got a standing ovation, and old Marty said, we was back there right before he went on, he said, well, you just did my show. That's all you did. And I said, I can do your show better than you can, Marty. And so about 10 minutes or 15 minutes went by, and, he always clowned around on don't worry. And so while he's clowning around, he always had nicknames for each one of the guys in the band. Some crazy screwball name that he would just make up out of the top of his head. Yeah.
Josephus Diablo.
And so he started that routine on Don't Worry, so I just walked out and I started doing my imitation of Marty Robbins. And the crowd just come alive. And so we did, after that, we did a duet on Cross the Brazos at Waco. And so, I thought I'd throw that in because it was really funny because we always kind of picked at each other one of these television shows that he was talking about, that Marty Robbins Spotlight, it is a riot because we kept picking at each other all the time we were doing that show. And he'd be singing this love song, and I'd try to be making love to him, and you'd have to see the thing. That was before us men could touch each other.
Sing a Marty
That's
Robbins
another
song.
can of worms.
Before we open too many cans of worms, do a Marty Robbins song.
Well, I'll have to get up to sing this song because I hope I can do it. Is that an E flat? Don't worry about me. It's all over now. Though I may be blue, I'll manage somehow. Love can't be explained, can't be controlled. One day it's warm, the next day it's cold. Don't pity me, 'cause I'm feeling blue. Don't be ashamed, it might have been you. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Kiss me one time, then go love. I'll understand. Don't worry about me. Sweet, sweet, sweet love, I want you to be as happy as I when you love me. I'll never forget you, your sweet memory. It's all over now. Don't worry about me. When one heart tells one heart goodbye, one heart is brave, one heart will cry.
kiss me one time, then go, love, it's all right. Don't worry about me. You are a big boy.
Ronnie, tell the...
He is a big Texan.
Tell the story about the fuzz guitar. How did that actually happen?
That actually was, it was either a tube or module in the control board, from what I understand, had gone bad. And it was a tube, yeah, a tube back then, I guess. There were no modules in the boards back then, I guess. The tube had gone bad, and was it at Bradley's barn?
No, it was
I mean,
the
at the
Columbia
Quonset Hut.
studio.
Is it the Quonset Hut?
The Quonset
Yeah,
Hut.
the Quonset Hut studio, Bradley's Quonset Hut
Grady
studio.
Martin.
And Grady was playing, I think he was playing a 6-string bass, I believe, electric bass. And the sound came through, and when they played it back, everybody goes, you know, what is that? You know?
Yes.
And then they decided, well, maybe we might ought to keep that there for a while, you know. And so, and from that, they actually learned how to, or developed the fuzz tone from that. So.
What's your favorite memory of your dad?
Oh, Lord. I'm getting old now, so there's a lot of them. I've told this story a few times, I guess, but not lately. But we had a running gag every year. I built him a radio-controlled airplane one year, and this was probably in 73, 74. Built him a radio-controlled airplane, painted it purple and yellow, just like his race cars. And neither one of us had ever flown, so I didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do. We took it out the driveway, and here we've got shrubs all around and trees and everything else. You know, I'm thinking, well, you know, there's a place we can go right through there. You know, if you kind of point it that direction, we can get up off the ground, we'll be okay. You know, and so I'm holding it. He's working the throttle up, and you know, we just kind of look at each other and say, yeah, I think it's okay. Go ahead. I let it go. It did a hard left right into the basketball goal. And embedded in the wing about halfway, and it started going around in circles. So each year I rebuilt that car for about 3 years, and we did the same thing each year. And finally, the 4th year, I built him a radio-controlled car instead. He did crash that, but you know, you could put it back on its wheels and then go again. But I don't know, we had so much fun going to the races, I think, as much as anything. Although when I first started working with him on the road, there again, I mentioned earlier that, you know, at the time, I just don't think I realized what a neat privilege that was to get, you know, I mean, I look around this room, I know we worked with everybody, you know, here at one time or another. You know, I remember working with Jim Ed and Jack and Billy and Roy and, you know, Charlie. I mean, everybody here, you know, it was such a neat thing for me to be a part of that, you know, even if I was just doing 1 or 2 songs, you know, it was just a privilege to do that. And, you know, away from the music business, though, you know, we really, he was just a big kid away from the business, and not a lot of people saw that, you know, and I guess the airplane story is kind of, you know, it's kind of, when I just remember the look on his face, because he was heartbroken, because he thought I was going to be heartbroken. I got the biggest kick out of it, because, you know, it was just wood, you know. I mean, it took me 6 weeks to build it, but it was just wood.
Ronnie, one of the fun memories, the night before you left to go in service, and he had the big dinner that night
the old Biltmore
the old
Motel
Biltmore
over on 8th
Hotel
Avenue
dining
in
room.
Craighead.
And white tablecloths and napkins and everything laid out. It was a wonderful thing, and he had invited just a few besides the family to come, and I was privileged to be at that dinner.
There was quite a few, yeah.
And they got in a roll fight, throwing
Well,
rolls.
you have to stop and realize that everything was really kind of, everybody was going, oh, he's leaving, you know, he's getting drafted. And this, you know, this was during the Vietnam War, so everybody, it was kind of a, you know, a little bit of a solemn occasion in a way.
It was.
And Dad just felt like he had to lighten it up a little bit.
So
he grabbed a roll. I mean, you know, he didn't throw it where everybody could see it. It was just like,
no,
you know,
right over.
and hit Bill Johnson in the head, steel guitar player. And from that point on, you know, it was just mayhem. Because they were really pretty hard, now that I remember. They weren't very good.
You're talking
And
about at
Biltmore's
home.
the Biltmore's out of business now, so it doesn't matter. So that's probably the reason, because the roles were hard.
You're talking about at home. Your daddy was a kid. He was a kid around most of us most of the time.
I know it.
I was
Yeah,
sitting
he
in Old Charlie's one day, and I felt something hitting me, and I looked around. I couldn't see anything. Finally, I looked over, and Marty was taking ice and throwing it at me all across the room. Well, he did stuff like that all the time, but he had fun.
He did.
He
did,
believed in having fun.
He did.